All right, so welcome back, everyone. We are going to be going over quite a few things in this lesson, so buckle in. We're going to talk about creating workbooks, worksheets, printing, changing the name of the worksheet, changing the color of the tab, just a bunch of stuff. So we talked about how you open a workbook in an earlier lesson, but I want to show you another way. We discussed how you open it by using the File tab, and then going to New to open up a new workbook, a blank workbook, or clicking on Open to open up an existing workbook. The other way that you can do it is by clicking in any cell and then pressing Control N. If you press Control N, now you have a blank workbook open. So just another way to accomplish the same thing. Let's go back to our workbook. Okay, so one thing that I want to mention, and I mention this quite often in this course, is that you want to make sure that you hit save often while you're working, because there's nothing worse than spending hours on a workbook or worksheet and then your computer crashes and you lose everything. At least if you save often and your computer crashes, you will have saved the majority of your work. So just want to put that out there. So the next thing we're going to talk about is how do you insert a new worksheet? Well, you can do it by hitting Shift F11, or you can also accomplish the same thing by clicking on this little plus sign down here, and when you hover over it, it says New Sheet. So there you have it. You have a new sheet. So that's another way to do it. So how do you delete a worksheet? Well, you can do that by going up to the Cells group on the Home tab and selecting Delete Sheet. So let's go up and do that. I'm going to select Sheet 5, and I'm going to go up to the Cells group here, and I'm going to click on Delete and Delete Sheet. And now it's gone. Okay, so you can also do it by right-clicking. Navigate to the sheet that you want to delete, right click and select delete, and now it's gone. Okay, so there's a couple of ways to do that as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rename our worksheet. So the way to do that is to right click, and the third one down, it says rename. So if I click on that, left click, I can call this whatever I choose. Just start typing my worksheet. And if you hit enter, it will be saved. I'm not going to hit enter because I don't want to change the name of it, but you can go ahead and practice that. All right, so I hit escape and we're going to keep moving on. All right, so how do you select all of the sheets in a workbook? So the way to do that would be to right click your sheet and right click on the tab and then click select all sheets. Okay, so now you notice by doing that the color is faint and you know that you have selected all of the tabs in the worksheets. And the reason why you might want to do that is if you wanted to print out all of the worksheets at the same time. So that's a fast way to do that. I'm going to go ahead and ungroup those sheets. Alrighty, so now we are going to talk about moving or copying a worksheet. So let's say that you wanted to move this worksheet to somewhere else. So you could actually do it by clicking on your Control key and dragging it across. So if you see that little arrow, it's black, so it's telling you which direction it's going. So I'm going to move it right here. And now it has moved after Formatting Cells tab, the Formatting Cells tab. But now I'm going to move it back, hit my Control key, and move it back. So see, that is a very easy way to move your worksheet. You can also do it by right-clicking, and if you select Move or Copy, you can say, move this to, let's see, before sheet, let's say autofill. So scroll down and you're telling Excel you want to move this before the autofill tab. All right, so now it's moved. So I'm going to go ahead and move it back. All right, so again, just a couple ways to accomplish the same thing. So let's say that you wanted to split your window. And to split your window, what you would do is you would go up to the ribbon and to the View tab, and you would click the Split button, okay? Or you can do Alt-WS. If you do Alt-WS, you must click one at a time, but I'm going to use the Split. And you'll notice that now my worksheet, you see here, there's two sets of scroll bars. That's because I've split it into two. And I can scroll on one or the other. So it gives me two views of the same worksheet, which is pretty nice because depending upon what you're doing, you might want to look at one part and then look at another part at the same time. So to undo that, just click split again, and now you're back to where you started. So freeze panes. This workbook is actually, oh no, it's not this workbook. You can actually freeze the panes in the workbook. So if your worksheet has a lot of data in it, you may want to freeze the headers so that you can scroll down to see all the data beneath the header without losing view of the titles in the header. So to do that, let's go ahead and try it. So I will place my cursor in row 3, and I will go up to freeze pane, and I'll say freeze the top row. Whoops, let me undo that. Let me do freeze pane, unfreeze. Okay, go to A1 and select freeze panes. So there you have it. My header is always showing. I just wanted to point out to you that I always use freeze panes. I don't use just the individual freeze the column or freeze the rows. I select freeze column and rows, which is accomplished by selecting freeze panes. To me, it's just easier. But if you'd prefer to do one at a time, you can do that. You can freeze your column or just freeze your row. Okay? Adjust your page margins, orientation, and size breaks. Let's go up to the page layout tab. And this is where you adjust your margins. And this is normally done when you're preparing for printing. So if you want everything to appear on your page in the center, or to make sure your margins aren't that large, you would adjust it here. Also, the size can be adjusted here. And, whoops, it's just a little slow. Every time I click it, it goes away. I don't know what's going on with it, but you can adjust the size here. Also, you can scale to fit. If you want to make it one page, print to one page, you would do it here. It just popped up now. So let's go back to size for a second. This is where you would choose the size of your paper. If you wanted it letter, legal, you can choose that here. So just know that that is an option. If you wanted your paper, your worksheet to print to 2 pages or 3, you choose that here. Or you can tell Excel to automatically select it for you. All right. Let's see. To preview your workbook, you can do that on the ribbon by going to the File tab. And let's say I was getting ready to print. I would go down to Print. And when I click on Print, you automatically get a preview of what your worksheet is going to look like. So here's a preview, and it tells you that it's going to print on 6 pages. Now, we wouldn't want that. You know, you would actually probably go in here and, select custom scaling. So you could say fit sheet on 1 page, or fit all the columns on 1 page. So you can actually tell Excel how you would like this to print out. You could also do that by clicking on the page setup. So when you click on page setup, what happens is you can tell Excel to, rather than adjusting to 80% of the normal size, this is basically the font size. You don't want it too tiny because you won't be able to read it. So if you adjust it to 55% of the normal size, now the number of sheets that it prints on is going to decrease. So when I click OK, and you'll see that now it's on 2 sheets of paper. So you just have to play with it to see what works best for you. All right, so let's go ahead and go back. And I think that is it. Oh, also you can print by pressing Control P. That's another shortcut. So the last point is just there are times when your computer freezes or shuts down unexpectedly. Let's cross our fingers and hope that doesn't happen in this tutorial. But if it does, Excel will allow you to auto recover the last saved version. Okay, so when you open up your workbook, it will ask you if you'd like to retrieve the last auto saved version. And you can also access that last version by clicking on the File tab and the ribbon and select your version that you would like to open. So that is it. This was a long lesson, guys. I hope you learned a lot, and we're going to keep it moving. So I'll see you over on the next side.